maybe you should ask him. Kelvin, did you ever, when you were editor, allow or encourage the hacking of other people's phones?
Do you know, in my time, I was so desperate for any kind of story, especially a big political story about somebody famous, that I would have hacked into my own phone, to be truthful.
Well, the irony of all of this is that, as I understand it, Andy Coulson's phone was hacked into as well by some of the private investigators. And one of the things that has irritated me... These couple of guys, Mulcahy and co, were completely out of control. This guy, Sean Hoare, whatever his name is, right, hasn't worked since he was let go by the News of the World in 2004. He had a drink and drugs issue. This is not evidence. If he ever went to a magistrate call, it would be thrown out straight away. Kelvin, I hold no particular...
The only reason you're pushing this on because you haven't got any other argument to make, Mr Bryant. You know that.
No, Kelvin, honestly, that's not true. I've been trying to pursue this for the last couple of years, but the point that I think is important.
Why didn't you pursue it? Why didn't you pursue it, Mr Bryant, when you were a minister in the Labour government?
I did.
They've been sitting on it for 5 years.
No, I haven't.
Johnson sat on it.
No, Kelvin
sat on it. There was no evidence.
Kelvin, rather. Sorry, that's untrue. I've already explained the timeline. But the question I was going to ask you is, as I understand it. There's a kind of rule for journalists that when you come up with a story, you protect your sources. The only person you're allowed to tell what your source is the editor. And when there's a story which is, you know, a big scoop and comes from a dodgy source, you do tell the editor, and the editor would be asking. That's why I think it's inconceivable that somebody as bright as you would not have asked journalists when you were editor, and Andy Coulson wouldn't have done the same, which is why I presume he must have known.
No, let me just explain something to you. For instance, if you took Nick Robinson, the political editor of the BBC, if he comes into his editor and says, I've got a great story, the editor doesn't say, where does it come from? What had happened with these people is that every single story that they had told was correct. Therefore, if you're the editor, in fact, it's not the editor, you're the news editor or you're the chief reporter, you don't bother to ask anymore. Nobody asks Mazu Mahmood, how on earth do you know about the Pakistani cricket scandal? They just say, Mazir, you've been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, you're a genius, we'll put it in the paper. You don't have to know the source if it's copper-bottomed.
But surely, sometimes you have to make sure that it's copper-bottomed, and the only way you can do that is by finding out what the source is. And if you weren't doing that as an editor, then you weren't doing your job properly.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful to you both and for entering to the spirit and having a good, robust debate. Kelvin and Chris, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That's right. Don't mention it. Well done, Chris.